Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. I'm joined by Kev. I'm Rich, joined by Kev to discuss exciting news at Aston Villa. There is never a dull moment at Aston Villa, mate. But yet we have, it all seemed to happen so fast after the fantastic performance against Brentford and the great pod that you guys did on a positive pod, mate, that you did on Sunday night.
I know.
Everything seemed to happen so quickly yesterday, and Mr. Unai Emery is now the manager of Aston Villa. Officially starts on the 1st of November, but we thought we had to get on a pod and discuss the incoming appointment. So first of all, welcome, mate. I haven't caught up with you properly since the match on Sunday. Before we go into the Emery discussion, how did you feel about doing a positive podcast for once?
It was really weird, actually, because I've just got so used to being in this negative mood, just melancholy and miserable. And what's not to like about the two fastest goals ever in our Premier League history in a game? A comfortable 4-0 win, could have been more. Great mood around Villa Park. It was just great, mate. It was just, what Villa fans I think deserve, really. So fingers crossed. This news about our new manager is the start of more positive times to be more consistent for us.
Absolutely. Got comments coming in already. Percy excited. I guess Villa will be his toughest challenge yet because of our inconsistency. That's a good point. We will get into that shortly. Alistair, good evening. Aston Villa fan, up the Villa. AJ, good evening. Nice to see you on the pod again, mate, and watching us. And Alistair's up the Villa as well. So really positive signs at the moment with what's happening. And your thoughts, mate, on Mr. Emery coming in.
I don't think you can argue, really, can you?
Go for it.
Yeah, I don't look, any Villa fans that have been negative, and there's been a bit of negativity. Talk Sport have been a bit on there saying that Villa fans are not excited about Emery. I don't know. I don't think, honestly, we could have done better as an appointment of a coach, unless you'd managed to lure like Guardiola, But from what was available, based on the kind of club that we are, to get a coach that's won what he's won, the pedigree that he's got, is a real coup for Aston Villa. And with respect to the managers we've had previously, whether that's a Gerrard, obviously did okay at Rangers. Did more than okay, did well at Rangers, right? But never managed in the Premier League. Dean Smith never managed in the Premier League, and the best level he'd obviously ever done before was Championship. Before that, it was Bruce, it was Di Matteo, it was Remy Gard and Eric Black and Tim Sherwood, etc., keep going back. When was the last time we got this excited about a managerial appointment? And I think if the best we can do to try and find negativity is that he might play a slightly not that exciting style, or he didn't do that well at Arsenal, well, I think we need to sort of count our lucky stars that we've got a manager that's prepared to come to Villa, is excited by the project, and is 4-time Europa League winner. I just think with what was available, Pochettino, Tuchel obviously would have been great names. I really think it's as good as you could have hoped for as a club.
100% agree. Obviously names were bandied around, Pochettino, Tuchel, and then it got to like Daesh, the Amiram, is it from Sporting Lisbon?
Yeah.
Again, that would be an exciting appointment, but again, an unproven appointment. Whereas, like you've just said there, a manager who has won European competition, not only that, has taken what would be classed as unfashionable teams in Spain, in Villarreal and Sevilla, to win Europa Leagues and also taken them to semi-finals of Champions Leagues. So he's got the background, he's got the pedigree to go and win big games, win important games. And I think you're right in terms of that manager who we've always gone for, like you say, Gerrard was a risky appointment, maybe a figurehead, someone to bring a bit of glitz and glamour to Villa. Didn't work. Dean Smith before him, someone who bought into the club, bought into the ethos of the club, probably took us as far as he could go. And before that, we're just trying to get us out of that championship. Whereas feels like the owners have taken the matters into their own hands and just thought, right, we need a proven manager. And the proof in the pudding will be in the eating, as I always say, but a proven manager is one stuff who can make tactical decisions and will ultimately can put medals on the table, of managerial medals on the table that mean something in front of these players and sort of raise expectations of what he wants out of the players that he's got.
Yeah, I think that whatever happens will happen. And you've had plenty of managers in the past that haven't worked out at clubs that have worked out well, elsewhere. I mean, David Moyes is a great example. Did a great job at Everton. Very much like Emery following Wenger at Arsenal, which was always going to be a tough gig for anybody based on the unbelievable success that Wenger had. Moyes followed Ferguson at United. Does that make him a bad manager overnight? And it looked like Moyes actually for a bit of time was a bad manager because he didn't have a great spell at Real Sociedad. He didn't have a great spell at Sunderland. And then all of a sudden, West Ham. I know he's under a bit of pressure right now, but you can't say with them getting to it like a European semi-final.
Got a win last night, didn't he? Got a win last night.
Backs against the wall a little bit, in terms of But look, I think he's probably a good example of a coach. And if you look at what Emery's done, you're absolutely right, mate. Unfashionable teams that aren't the usual elite teams in the league, and the level of success. I mean, let's just talk about this for a second. I've never probably gone into this level of thought about it because I've never been that bothered about Unai Emery until he becomes manager of our club. He won 3 Europa Leagues in a row. To win basically the UEFA Cup with 3 years successively is an unbelievable achievement.
And if you think about how many matches that is, they have group stages now. So they've got 5 teams in their group. So that's home and away. That's eight games, is it? Well, they've got 4 teams. Sorry, 4 teams in the group. So that's 6 games. Then they've got a last 32, which is 2 legs. A last 16, which is 2 legs. A quarter-final, which is 2 legs, a semi-final, which is 2 legs, and then a final. So you replicate that over 3 seasons, and he's won it back to back to back. That's pretty much a full season, isn't it?
Yeah, mate, it's unbelievable, isn't it? It's unbelievable. I mean, I don't think you can argue that winning a European trophy, it isn't a good achievement for anybody. But winning 2 is fantastic. Winning 3 is amazing. Winning 4 is unbelievable. He's done that.
Yeah.
But he won 3 in a row. 3 in a row. And also, I mean, the teams that they beat, they beat Benfica. I think it was Dnipro, which was obviously they did well to get to the final. But and then obviously Liverpool in that fantastic game, which obviously there's a video out there about what happened in terms of, the comeback that he made in that game and the performance. But just an unbelievable performance. The number of teams that are in that tournament is absolutely incredible. Yeah. And he's clearly a great cup manager. I mean, he obviously got Arsenal to the final as well, which is another great achievement when they've been away from that level of football for ages.
Yeah, I'm just going to quickly share the screen, mate, because I've got the Wikipedia stats for him. But here we've got all his teams. 48.6% win ratio, 46.4, 48.6, 46.2. At Spartak Moscow, then Sevilla 51.7% win ratio, Paris Saint-Germain 76.3% win ratio, Arsenal 55.1% win ratio, and Villarreal 50.4% win ratio. I mean, what was Gerrard on 30, 34 or something, and Dean Smith was on 35. So I mean, even if he gets us to like 40, around 46 to 48% win ratio, we'd still be doing a lot better than what we are now. And then you're looking at the honours here. So Seville, like you say, Europa League 2013-14, 2014-15, 2015-16, won Ligue 1 with Paris Saint-Germain, Coupe de France, Coupe de la Ligue, and then the Champions Trophy, Europa League runner-up, and then Europa League winner with Villarreal. So, I mean, you can't ask for a much more decorated coach of modern times. I mean, we're talking about Poch in terms of the style of football that he plays, but he can't bring those medals to the table.
No. And also as well, I think that, look, we want to believe Aston Villa can challenge with the elite teams in our league again. But, I mean, it's going to be very, very hard to get into the top 4 anytime soon, even the top 6. But what Villa fans are crying out for is some kind of success. And if it wasn't, obviously before the playoffs, which obviously is, the the worst of the top six in the in the championship, basically, i.e. not the first and second teams fighting it out to get to the Premier League. It's a massive moment. It's a big day out, but it's not elite level of silverware. Then it was the Peace Cup, that pre-season tournament that the kids won. And then it was the Intertoto Cup in 2001. And then it was the League Cup, whatever name it was, Worthington Coca-Cola Cup in 1996. A manager with a real cup pedigree, I think, is actually a good thing. I'm not suggesting this is part of the plan or the strategy, but it clearly seems to have an idea what to do on one-off games when a result is really important. So
yeah,
I think that potentially could bode well for us in terms of maybe seeing whether it's silverware or just cup runs and just taking this club. Gerrard always talks about that. We want to go deep in the cups. Well, let's see if Emery can realise that dream.
Yeah, well, we'll get, like I said, we've got some loads of comments coming. We'll get to them in a second. But yeah, please, everyone, thanks so much for watching. Great numbers watching already, which is fantastic. Please drop a like on the video. We're also up to 488 subscribers as we speak. So we just need 12 more to get to that big 500 number. And we will be putting plans out for a big giveaway once we hit that 500. So yeah, hit that subscribe button if you can. If you haven't already, and yeah, get us that 500 number and we will be putting out news of a big giveaway. Just a few comments, Kev. Emery will have a lot to live up to after Danks, but I'm sure he's a half decent coach. Yeah, definitely after Danks' first match, 100, which we'll talk about Danks in a bit as well. But obviously he's on a 100% ratio. Photo Sankey, thanks for joining us. The fact he likes 4-2-3-1 is a plus right away. And to get an elite coach is unbelievable, as he has proved he can do well in Europe. This could be an awesome appointment. How could anyone be disappointed with this? Honestly, yeah, I totally agree. Willie Moyes, hi guys, great news. Emery obviously thinks Villa are bigger than Newcastle after turning them down. Yep. Well, we've got a chance to prove it on Saturday, which will be no mean feat. Just hope Emery has more control of incoming transfers, says Alistair. Also, yeah, brings into light the future of Johan Lange, potentially with Emery, what he wants to do with that. As I said before, John mentions there, he still had a 55% win ratio at Arsenal. We've landed a quality coach, and he will also sign an assistant that knows the league. And apparently Guillem Balaguer, the Spanish journalist, said he's bringing an elite level coach with him.
Yeah, Guillem Balaguer said that today in an earlier chat. I saw that someone who's Champions League winner. I mean, I hope it's not Di Matteo or Gerrard, but yeah, I'm sure there are other Champions League winners that could be available. So yeah, I mean, that's obviously great news. Exciting to see who that is. Definitely.
Aaron is very happy that Gerrard has gone, and yeah, calls Emery God. So if he's got Aaron's seal of approval, I think he's going to be a good thing. And AJ believes consistency is that first thing. And Deontay is joining us as well. The most important thing is giving Unai Emery time. Change won't happen overnight, so he has to have the time to implement his playing style. The Villa fan base is behind him, and I think he will do well. Obviously, results speak for themselves, and they will determine how well he does and what we think of him. But going back to a couple of comments earlier and Deontay's point there about kind of time to implement his system, preferring this 4-2-3-1 formation, how do you think he'll kind of implement his ideas on the squad, on the current squad and playing staff?
Well, from what I know about him, which is just researching a bit of him post the announcement and obviously before this pod, not having too much time, but obviously trying to do an honest day's work. But it seems like he's someone that gives young players a chance. So I mean, I think he was the one that gave Saka, Martinelli, and Smith Rowe their first opportunities, obviously at Arsenal. He's taken players that maybe haven't necessarily done too well at clubs and maybe needed another chance, whether that might be a Capoue, might be a Danjuma, a Foyth, and got some really good performances out of them to the point of obviously semi-final Champions League.
Yeah.
Let's not forget
Danjuma said some really good things about him, I believe.
Really nice, really good things about him. Yeah.
So that wouldn't be a bad signing.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if it's very highly rated. I've not seen too much of Danjuma. Was at Bournemouth, and I think I sort of got 1 in 3 at Bournemouth, and is obviously doing pretty well at Villarreal. So I think that's hopefully will give youth a chance. And Villa fans have bemoaned the fact that whether it's Kessler Hayden, whether it's Jacob Ramsey obviously got his chance, but likes of Archer, Tim Irobenham, I think might be someone that he's going to get a real chance in that team, because if you're playing that 2 in front of the back 4, then I know we've got some good options for that, but I'd be interested to see what he does with him. So I think that's one thing I think that we will see from him. I also think as well it's a good time, because it seems like we kind of do this with the manager around about this time of year, and if you think about what's happened with Villa in the past few seasons, we've always tailed off, haven't we? Second half of the year, even we used to do it under Martin O'Neill. I mean, everyone remembers that game when we would have gone 8 points clear in 4th spot against Arsenal, and then Glenn Whelan got that last minute equaliser at Villa Park. That was in March. I mean, Villa to be 8 points clear of 5th spot in March in a season is unbelievable. But we dropped off. We dropped off under Dean Smith after being in an unbelievable position around about Christmas time, that COVID season. We dropped off under Gerrard after we having a great start when he came on board. So I look at where we're at right now and think it's a good time to come in, particularly with the World Cup window. He's going to have one game at home, and then I think an away game at Brighton, and then almost 3 hits ready, because I don't think we'll go down. And then he's got the chance to implement whatever he can, particularly with a lot of Villa players not being at the World Cup. Be interested to see how much backing he gets, but part of me is thinking now, from a few things I've read, was Gerrard not backed to the level that I've certainly given the board some criticism about, not backing the team, giving the team the support they needed. Maybe that was because they had some doubts about the manager. So maybe. Be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, from all I know about him, he seems to favour a 4-4-2 or 4-2-3-1. But I also know that he's fairly flexible. I think I saw some stat about him making a lot of early substitutions, and sort of more than anybody else somewhere. I think that managers that aren't afraid to be tactically flexible and tactically brave are important. So
yeah, I agree.
times.
I agree. I thought we were kind of getting that person with Gerrard who would be like that ruthless. Bring in that ruthless streak, win at all costs, make changes where needed, not really take players under their wing and have favourites and stuff. And it seemed to be the opposite, really, that he did have his favourites. And, I don't think it was any coincidence that the team played with much more accuracy of passing, much more freedom, much more intent, because McGinn wasn't in the side, and maybe to a certain extent Ramsey as well. So you want that manager who is prepared to take players off and show kind of that they're spotting little things in games, or little errors that they might have made at the start, or reacting to what the other coach is doing, and not really having any sort of care or bearing on what he's doing for players' feelings. All he cares about is making sure that the result is positive for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think as well, like, people are comparing him to to other managers, and certainly comparing to what Arteta's doing now. But that team that he took to Arsenal's highest point total in about 10 years had the likes of what's his name, the Greek centre half, Papadopoulos, I think, something like that, and obviously Skodran Mustafi was in that team, El Neni, Mkhitaryan, who didn't really sort of rip anything up in terms of his Premier League football for either Arsenal or Man United. And that team wasn't a brilliant team. Leno in goal. There was just a lot of players in that team. That team's nothing like it is now. To get them to their highest points total in, what was it, like 10 years, to get to a European final, it's actually probably a success now when you think about it.
Yeah, 100%. So I touched on it before. What do you think it could mean for the likes of Johan Lange and the sort of transfer strategy that we might adopt moving forwards?
Well, it's a question, this, isn't it? Because obviously, we moved Suso on to get Lange in, based on Suso's performance in the the transfer market not being amazing. We have to, if we're going to be consistent about the criticism we give, can we say Lange's been that successful so far? Which signings have we made? Kamara, jury's out, because obviously he's been injured. Same with Carlos. We have seen good signs, but we also lost to Bournemouth with both of them in the team. So, not that you can judge him on one game. Just a quick one. No, I don't think Carlos played for him. I think Carlos played after Emery had left. I think Emery was at Arsenal when Carlos was there. Cool. So look, I don't know. I just look at a situation and think that, are they likely to change Purslow and change Lange if they've changed Gerrard? But then if they're going to give Emery the level of support he needs, maybe he's got his own people he wants to bring in. So it'd be interesting to see. I do think we'll move away from that strategy of bringing in players, which seem to go away from our initial strategy of that the sort of the youth and the almost the Moneyball approach to bringing in players like Digne, like Coutinho, like Ings. I don't think we'll go for that level of profile. Maybe the last big move, but I don't know. I hope we get some exciting signings, some people from Europe that we don't know about some gems that can be converted.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been pretty impressed by Villarreal when I've seen them in the Europa League and the football that they play, the kind of culture that they've got in that club, and the work rate of quite their midfield. They put a lot of work in, and I think that kind of touches to your point about them being very, very good in one-off games, and doing very well in cup competitions, or Emery type sides have done well in cup competitions. So. Yeah, I think we'll be likely to see players working extremely hard, but also maybe soaking up pressure, and working extremely hard, but then pressing forward quite quickly if we get the opportunity to. So it might be a case of patience for Villa fans a little bit, and just understanding the way that he wants to play, but also being sort of aware that we will be sort of tactically astute, and maybe a little bit more players maybe have to be a little bit more adaptable to what he wants to do in any given game, also within moments of games as well, or how the game is going dependent.
Yeah,
So
I think patience
it would be good.
I think patience is key, mate. I think patience is absolutely key. And I do think, again, Villa fans get a bit of a bad press. The reason why we weren't patient with Gerrard, and people saying, "Oh, he's end of the year," is we didn't see any good signs. I think if we can see good signs, or the results are a bit inconsistent, I think Villa fans will be patient with him. That's the key thing, isn't it? It's progression. It's progression, obviously, in terms of results, progression in terms of league position, but more importantly, progression in terms of performances. Villa have always seemed to lack ideas, haven't we? We've lacked ideas. Emery's known for whether that's a counter-attacking system, whether it's switching to a 4-4-2, whatever it needs to be. Generally quite an offensive press, to sort of reduce the spaces that are available. Quite a high line of the defence as well. So I do think there's some things that I think we'll see some differences in terms of what's going on. But I also hope he puts his stamp on the team, and it'd be interesting to see what they do around. Look, you make the point about Gerrard earlier about maybe not being that as brave as he thought he might have been based on what he did at Rangers. But I mean, my God, you drop McGinn, you drop Ramsey, you bring in Dendoncker as an absolute best game you could ever expect him to do, and we get a 4-0 win the next game. Is that luck? Was that just the pressure lifting? No, I think it was certainly a little bit of that. And we got Brentford on a bad day, but our performance was really helped by the shape of the team. And that's what a good coach will do. And that's what we said in the last pod. Danks didn't do anything crazy or spectacular. He just played to our strengths.
Yeah, 100%. So interestingly, you mentioned Danks, and obviously Unai Emery comes in for as of the 1st of November, so we'll be in charge for the cup game against Man United, and then the home game against Man United. But Danks is in charge, as it looks like, against Newcastle on the weekend. A tough game. Will it be kind of Unai Emery using Aaron Danks as a vital piece of his coaching team, or will it be a case of Danks for the memories?
Well, that remains to be seen. There's a certain sense of, I think, Villa fans, because we've had this unbelievable win, that I think everyone wants Danks to stay forever now. Danks, give him the keys to the city. Look, it's nice to have some continuity, but it also wouldn't be that crazy if a whole new staff came on board. Maybe apparently he's got his own goalkeeping coach. What does that mean for Cutler? Cutler's seemingly doing a decent job, and I think Villa fans are quite fond of Cutler. But Danks is the same. Maybe he's got his own coach he wants to bring in. Maybe Danks won't want to be relegated down the coach numbers in terms of if Emery's got his own coaches. Maybe Danks has got ambitions of his own to be a manager. So I don't know. I mean, it might be his last chance against Newcastle to have this level of opportunity in the Premier League. And what a great opportunity to turn around a terrible season with a brilliant win against Brentford. How much even better would it be to go and beat Newcastle, who are one of the best formed teams in the Premier League right now, 4 wins and a draw in the last 5, who are fourth in the league, to turn them over at St James's Park. You'd love it. You're going, aren't you?
Oh, like be absolutely fantastic. I'm taking my son as well to his first away game. So yeah, it'd be great if he was a bit of a good luck charm, because I don't think we've won there since 2006, I believe.
Bowie and Dyer had a fight.
I keep getting reminded of it all the time. Best we've done is a couple of draws here and there, so that would be phenomenal. But yeah, we'll be previewing that later on this week, and I know we've been requested to be on quite a few Newcastle shows. So yeah, I think we'll be busy over the next few days, mate. Just before we wrap this up, and as I say, thanks everyone for watching. It's really appreciative. It's much appreciated. Please, as I say, drop a like on the video if you haven't already, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already, if you're just catching up for the first time. Mark's just had a quick question there though. I think we'll see Big Emmy as first choice captain under Emery. Yeah, I mean, I guess Martinez was made captain because McGinn was out the team. What do you feel about that? Or do you think it's a big deal that Emery will make of that, or do you think he'll just go with maybe mixing it up for various games?
I don't know. I think, if you're not sure that McGinn's going to be a starter every week, and there's a lot of competition for places, as we said before, if McGinn isn't the person to play in that two in the pivot, if it's going to be Dunker or Louise, or even maybe potentially a Chambers, or obviously when he's fit again, Kamara, whoever it might be, is McGinn going to be the person that plays in front? That's going to be a Buendia or a Coutinho or a Ramsey maybe. So, and actually probably not Ramsey, he'll probably play it wide if you're going to get a chance. So what do you do with him? Clearly he's a big part of the squad, and he's obviously a good character, but I think would make a mistake if he kept McGinn as captain. I think he's got to assess it and think from a solidity perspective and a consistency and stability perspective. Well, if you give it back to Mings, and then Mings' form's off again, and you've potentially created a whole new problem, because then you might be able to do the opposite. Martinez is the standout choice for me. He's going to play fitness permitting every single game. It takes the pressure off everybody else. So I think it has to be Martinez. It has to be Martinez for me.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and I guess every player's on a fresh slate with a new manager, aren't they? So it's players like Sanson, players like Nakamba, players like Gilbert even will be like, right, let's impress this new manager coming in next week. Next week's a new start for me, in training. So let's see what we can do.
Yeah, look, it's a clean slate, isn't it? It's a clean slate, and you have to question. I've called many times, call out the point that what does someone like Sanson have to do to get a chance when the midfield's playing so badly? So I still stand by that point, but it doesn't necessarily mean Sanson is the answer, because two managers haven't fancied him. But what more can you ask for? Clean slate. Maybe you even get a situation where you get some loan recalls. I'll be surprised if he wasn't looking at what Rugbenham's doing. If he wasn't thinking he was going to start him, maybe he lets him continue with QPR's promotion push. But and maybe he'll want to do that just to be a nice guy. And on that point, by the way, of all the things I've read about Emery, all I seem to read everywhere, he's such a lovely bloke. His players love him. One thing we knew with Gerrard was it seemed there was a bit of a split in the camp, and some people came out for him, but some thought he was a bit aloof and arrogant, maybe a bit old school in some ways, almost like Roy Keane-esque type manager. I don't get the impression Emery's like that at all. From the clips I've seen, from the things I've seen people, be it Dan Juma, talk about him. I think Martinez seemed quite fond of him, obviously. Play with him at Arsenal. Chambers, again, will be a friendly face for him as well. So if you can get the dressing room on side and get them to want to play for him, and his mentality seems to be amazing. His mentality seems to be absolutely... I read an article where one of the points was he believes that he wants his team to believe they can beat any team in the world on their day. And that level of belief is fantastic. So if we can bring that to the club, get a bit of consistency in terms of obviously the captaincy, which I think has been a big issue for us. Give him a bit of time, be patient with him, back him in the January window. We've maybe got some players he's currently playing with who could be targets for us. Maybe have a little cup run. Imagine that. Imagine a trip to Wembley, mate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, but either way, look, if it ends up being the worst appointment ever and he ends up, and we're terrible, right now, we have to see what happens with that. But from a decision-making perspective, if there's any negativity about making his appointment, I think people are living on Clay Cuckoo land. I think we can only dream of getting someone like this. We thought at some point I'm sure Dyche might have done a good job, might have stepped up to the plate, but most Villa fans didn't want Dyche.
No,
we felt we were better than Dyche, and plenty of other managers probably like that were available to get an elite European manager who's we've had to pay compensation to get out of his club. Who also, let's not forget about this, he's clearly been attracted enough to Aston Villa, attracted enough to the project, which he wasn't at Newcastle. Admittedly, he was on a Champions League run, so probably it's easy to dig Newcastle out for that, but probably slightly different circumstances. But attracted to Aston Villa, attracted to the project, clearly must have been told he'll get some backing. So, I think it's really exciting times, mate.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Well, we look forward to the Unai Emery era with bated breath, and it was great that the club did it so quickly and got the deal over the line, and it all looks to have been done really professionally. Villarreal were very respectful of Emery moving on. Yeah, we will be back, as I say, later on this week for our match preview for Newcastle, and we'll be on, as I say, various Newcastle pods across the week. So check us out there. Again, we've got some fantastic comments come in. Thank you so much for joining and watching us tonight. As I say, please leave a like on the video. Please subscribe if you are new to the channel. We are on the road to 500, very, very, very close. So if you do subscribe, please, if you do like what you see, please click that subscribe button, and we will be doing a giveaway very, very soon, as we hit that 500 mark. But Kev, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you so much for jumping on.
No worries, mate.
And
two positive pods in a row, mate. Two positive
pods in a row. Let's hope.
Unbelievable.
Well, we will definitely be positive for our preview for Newcastle on Thursday or Friday. But yeah, fingers crossed we are positive after the game as well, and that'll be 4 in a row. But yeah, absolutely, for now, thank you so much, mate. Thank you so much for everyone watching. Always remember, we'll follow the Villa. See you later, everyone.